like science.
I like science.
I like science.
There is a fly
Science.
in this room buzzing about my head.
I hate summer.
It's like being in sub-Saharan Africa or something, or at least in movies. Where it's
Yeah.
like, how do we make it seem like they're in sub-Saharan Africa? Add the sound of buzzing flies, which kind of seems racist for some reason.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
like
know.
I'm inside my house in Ogden, Utah, and I have the sound of a buzzing fly.
Mm-hmm.
So take that, film sound
Racist.
mixers.
Yeah, racists. Um, I'm not saying all
Yeah.
sound mixers are racist. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that.
Just the racist ones.
Just the racist ones. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it
So,
could be a production note, so it could be a studio note. So
okay, so could
in
be
which
possibly
case, yeah,
studios who some people at studios are racist,
yeah,
which there probably are. I mean, chances are that there are some racist people everywhere. So, yeah,
chances are
chances are. Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
So
So,
shield modulation, your random Star Trek podcast, wherein we
yes.
review episodes and films from the Star Trek franchise at random
Well, you could say universe. That works too.
universe. Yeah, Star Trek universe. That works as well.
Yeah. Yes, we do that thing. We're on episode 24 now. Can you believe it's been 24 episodes?
Yeah. Speaking of, we're close to episode 27, in which case we're going to go to a weekly schedule because I was doing the math and currently it would take us 34 years to review all of Star Trek at the rate we're going.
Well, and
And
keep episodes
by,
keep getting added with Strange New
yeah.
Worlds too.
And so by podcasting every week instead of every 2 weeks, we cut that in half. So it'll be 17 years, and we can discuss if we want to add even more shows later.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a start.
It's a
And it's
start.
episode 27 will be the start of a new year because of how many weeks there are in a year.
Mm-hmm. Has
So,
it been that long?
doing
That's crazy.
doing it fortnightly would be 26 weeks. So the 27th episode will be our first step into doing it weekly. And it's a
Right.
quick enough podcast that we can watch something, review it, produce it, upload it, and stuff in a relatively short amount of time since there's so very little, if any, editing involved.
There is no editing. The only thing that you do is truncate silence and possibly noise reduction and or um leveling
Yeah.
things out.
And
So,
yeah. Mix the sound level so we none of us sounds any significantly louder or quieter than the other person. And then at the most of editing, I might clip out a little click or something at the beginning or end, and the
mm-hmm.
rest of it's just easy breezy. So
Yeah. And then you got to put in the intro and outro. But
yeah,
that's it as far as actual editing and or production. And I have to say, guys, it's a blessing to not have to do all the editing
yeah,
shit.
just you're gonna have to live with our vocal tics and our hums and our ahs and our mistakes and our not thinking of words in the moment. Well, usually I'll just stop and wait until the word comes to me. That way I don't have to edit that. The truncate
Hmm.
silence takes care of it rather than going, I just sit silently going, which you might not even notice because that would have been clipped out.
Yeah, with truncate silence.
Yep.
So I should do that when I'm trying to remember a word and can't find it. I should just stop.
Yep. Stop, think, and then
Yeah,
come out with it.
right.
Now, with it being our next year, I'm debating whether I want to change or add to our theme music, our show music, or just leave it as is.
That is entirely up to you. You are the music guy. So,
Yeah, I'm not sure what to do there.
well, we'll figure it out.
Yep, I've got weeks, but that's about as much time as I need to make a decision anyway, so
Hmm.
that'll do.
Right. So, Star Trek Prodigy.
Yeah, this is our first step into Star Trek Prodigy for the podcast, so that's exciting.
Yeah, and it's a show that is animated, in case you guys didn't know. If you're listening to this and know nothing about Prodigy, what are you even doing? Go and watch Prodigy.
Mhm.
So,
If you can find it.
if you can find it, I have it on Blu-ray because I know how finicky streaming services are, and I want to keep that show forever and ever close to my heart, etc. So, Dave, what were your first thoughts about Star Trek Prodigy?
Uh, a little bit mixed, and there's still some things that I kind of scratch my head at, like early on when they introduced the adorable little kitty character that we never saw really again, except, here and there. But, think you'd introduce a character like that, it would be part of the crew, but that didn't come to be.
The Cation is what you're
Yeah,
talking about.
yeah,
Well,
that
that's
adorable
because
location.
yeah, well that's because they were stuck back on the mining planet,
Yep,
and they weren't anywhere near with the protostar when the kids took it and left.
yep,
So, but you get to see them at the end of season 1 in that two-parter season finale,
yeah,
and you get to hear I'm not sure if it's a girl or a boy, but they're very young, so it could go either way. But
yep.
you get to hear their voice finally, so there is that. But yeah, I that actually didn't bother me because there were a lot of people that got left behind when the
Mhm.
kids took the ship and ran. So, but like the two guys that were just like, "I love you, I love you too." Oh, it was one of my favorite things.
Hmm.
Uh, anyway, but overall, what's your feeling now?
Uh, I think the second season is improvement upon the first, but the first does have some really great surprises, especially the further you get into it.
Hmm.
I like the ensemble. There's enough variation in the characters that you're likely to find, your favorite out of the bunch. Don't really get on well with Dowell, but that's because that's the point, I think. Is he's supposed to be kind of the troublemaker, the bad boy of the group, and he's the one with this arc of developing and maturing and coming into his own. And that's a slow process, and you get step by step, these gradual developments as the show goes on. But if I had to hang out with any of them, Dahl, I'd have the hardest time, I think.
I don't know. Maybe Doll by the end of season 2, you would be able to hang out with.
Yeah, it's an improvement for sure.
Yeah.
Gwen I like a lot, and until we get around to Magel, Gwen I think is my favorite because Magel just because of the way season 2 works with Gwen kind of being split from the team for a lot of it. You don't get a whole lot of her, or at least a whole lot of her interactions with the rest of the crew, and
Mm.
Magel kind of slips in and fills the hole left behind. So it's kind of like an even thing between them. But I think Gwen's my favorite. But I do like each of them in turn, and I understand what they're doing with Doll. I could still grates on me, but I understand what they're doing with the character. And the
Right.
performance is excellent. That's the point of it. Is he's supposed to annoy you because he's an annoying little kid,
Hmm.
but he's an annoying little kid that's learning to develop and become his better self.
Yeah. Well, my personal feelings about that are I did not like Dal at
Yeah.
first. And it was about, I want to say it was around episode 7, maybe 8 of season 1, where there was this turn. And I
Right.
remember it was he and Gwen were talking. And they had, I think it was that one where the ship was stuck on a planet.
Mm.
And I can't remember exactly because it all kind of blends together in my brain. But that episode, I just figured out, oh, I see what they're doing here. Okay, I understand now. He's working from a place of insecurity because
Yes.
spoiler alert, he doesn't have parents. He was a
Right.
science experiment,
Yeah, and technically a failed science experiment.
which makes it even worse.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad enough thinking that you lost your parents, but to find out that you were a science experiment and not wanted, that will
Hmm.
wear on you. So
Yep.
I think actually he handles it pretty well considering because it's not something that is fun to think about. And for a kid who, well, teenager, and we know how teenagers are about regulating
Yep.
their emotions or how they don't regulate their
Right.
emotions. So I gave him a lot of grace for that. He is not my favorite, though. My favorite is my dear heart, my sweet, sweet Brakar, Rock Talk. I love her.
Yes.
I love her. I love her. I love the dichotomy of this little girl voice coming out of this giant being made of rock.
Hmm.
I just love everything about her, how kind she is when she gets upset. It's
Her
actually,
enthusiasm for science too
yeah,
is something as well, and her
yeah,
love for anything cute.
yep. And that episode where they kept trying to force her to be the security officer, and she's like, I
Hmm.
don't want to. That's
Yeah, I
not
don't
what I'm
want to be
interested
the
in.
big strong person. I have an
I,
interest in science.
I want to do science.
Yeah.
So, and they finally hear her. They finally truly hear her
Yeah.
and stop with that. But
And Murph makes
I,
the better security uh,
yes,
person anyway, so
right. So
being
over,
practically indestructible
yeah, yeah, can breathe in outer space and whatnot. But
and absorb explosions for crying out loud.
that too. Uh, anyway, um, I think, of course, season two was an amazing follow-up to season one. The things that
Yes.
they did in season one, there were certain expectations, of course, because you knew that this was a ship that was trying to get to Starfleet, etc. And this ragtag group of kids, blah blah blah. But it still did things that were unexpected, and I loved that. I still love it. Season two just builds on that, and I think it's really a shame that there isn't going to be a season three. I mean,
Right.
there's probably still hope out there. I don't know if the Hageman brothers are even trying
Mm,
to find a place for that. I wish that they could, because, and I know that they purposely ended season two in a way where you could continue it or it could serve as a finale for the
yeah.
series. But I don't want a finale for the series yet. I want more of Star Trek Prodigy, because they had hit their stride in season one, and in season two, they just soared to new heights. And I feel like there's so much more that they could do
I
if
know,
someone would
is
just let
it,
them.
yeah, the showrunner's Aaron Walke, right? Um, and I believe he's moved on to other things because, you got to keep working, but my
Mhm.
understanding is he has like notebooks full of ideas for if they were to continue, if somebody
Well,
were to pick it up.
I'm sure the Hageman brothers do as well,
Yeah.
because they're the creators.
Yes.
So yeah. Anyway, I love the show. I think it's fantastic. I think it's great for any age. And I think it's marvelous for children
Yes.
because
And
it
that's something
doesn't,
to keep in mind too,
yeah.
is that it is for kids, but at the same time there are some darker aspects to it. And I think it, though it does somewhat hold your hand getting through it, and it's a introduction to Star Trek in that way for people who might not be familiar with Star Trek because, they're too young to watch the contemporary stuff.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think it balances well being, you know, designed, geared, directed towards children, but also having more elevated aspects to it too. It's not
Yeah.
like as dumbed down as it could be.
Yeah, that's the thing I hate about most children's programming is how incessantly loud it is, for one thing,
Mm,
and how annoying it is, and how it just, I mean, I know that kids love stuff like that, but I didn't, even as a kid, like stuff
right.
like that. I didn't want to be talked down to. I wanted to be met where I was, and children's shows in the 70s and 80s did not do that for me.
Yeah, it's character driven, which is something you don't get with everything that's geared for kids. A lot of it's
Yeah.
more plot or just, shiny colors and distracting sounds.
Hmm. Yeah. I just,
So
yeah,
this
no.
is, there's some complex characters and like a lot of Star Trek, especially modern Star Trek, an appeal to emotional intelligence.
Hmm.
And you have Zero, you have Jenkin Pog, and it's Gwen and Dal and Rock Talk and Murph, and all these characters, and even Janeway as being kind of the den mother for this group, the
Mm-hmm.
Hollow Janeway. I think you really get to see, how the characters interact and relate to one another and how they overcome differences or embrace differences and recognize their special talents in each of them. Yeah, and there's room given to allow them to make certain mistakes and to grow from them. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I know you weren't too much for Gwen early on, but I think she grew on you as well.
She did. I just found her annoying at first, but it
Yeah.
was not it took maybe like two or three episodes before I was just like, okay, I know what
Yeah.
she's doing here. I understand. So yeah. And she became she's kind of a bit like a blank slate because when everything she thought she knew was
Hmm.
taken from her, she basically became reset and she had to decide the kind of person that she was going to be.
Yeah, considering that she was burdened with her father's legacy and basically created for a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
and to suddenly go against and actually reversed and counter to that purpose,
Yeah.
that's a big change. And in one so young, yeah, that's a
Yeah. Well,
lot to handle.
that's the thing. She never questioned. She never questioned really. It was, and I think that the only time, like in that first episode, which was originally shown in two parts, but I think is just in one episode now, as far as the Blu-rays are concerned, but I could be wrong about that. But it's really Dal and Zero, frankly, that who are the ones that open her eyes to something else because
Right.
she spends a few episodes trying to get back. And there's this turn where she's just like, why should I do that? Why should I do that?
Hmm.
Why am I here? Why do I exist? She doesn't know anything about what her father is doing because if you were to tell her that, do you think she was going to stick around? She's a teenager.
Yeah.
So, anyway, um, I love the series. I think it should have been longer, and maybe someday do a Prodigy movie. I don't know. That'd be fun.
That'd be nice,
So,
Prodigy movies.
yeah.
Yeah, it's one way to do it.
So let's get down to brass tacks here and talk about Prodigy Season 1, Episode 17, Ghost in the Machine.
Pretty notable episode. I
Hmm.
remember when this was airing, this got a lot of buzz around it after people had watched it.
Yeah, it's a it you turn a corner. That's for sure. And basically this is we're at the three quarters mark as far as the series pretty much.
So kind of
And
like a third act turn in a way.
yeah, this is basically second act turning into third act
Yeah.
right here. So it's interesting because it fakes you out at the beginning with the protostar trying to get in contact with the Dauntless, which is a very, 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 very big ship
Yes,
with
indeed.
very, very, very many weapons.
Hmm.
And they're they're trying to signal in Morse code and the Dauntless isn't responding to it and trying to explain that they can't, that they're not criminals. They can't go to Federation space because otherwise the living construct will take over all the ships and destroy them with each
Hmm.
other, etc. And they ended up basically getting blown up and the simulation ends.
Right.
So it was like
Yeah,
this.
I think Dal ends the simulation just before they blow up.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, they're trying to send Morse code through firing phasers near the
Yeah.
ship, but not at it.
Yep.
And they just assumed they were being fired upon, so they fired back, then put him in a tractor beam.
Yep. So that doesn't go well. And Gwen basically floats the idea that maybe they should just stop trying. They've been at this for hours, days, even weeks,
Yeah.
possibly, trying to figure out a way through running simulations how to contact the Dauntless without triggering the living construct. Because if they hail another ship, that's it. The living construct will take over that ship.
Hmm.
and then use it to take over other ships and more till they're all ships, and then they just start destroying each other,
Right.
which is what happens at this end of season one. But yeah, I think my one of my favorite scenes is actually afterwards when they're in the mess hall and they've got ice cream up the wazoo. They've
Yeah,
got
what kind of
so
ice
much
cream?
ice
It
cream.
looked like it had little chocolate chips in it, but they're like triangular. They were like flakes almost.
It could be, or it could have been nuts. It's hard to say
Yeah.
because it looked kind of like a butter
It looked,
pecan to me, but
well, butter pecan, creamsicle, something in that kind of butter pecan makes sense, I think.
yeah,
Yeah, that kind of color.
yeah. And they're all just whining about things, and it's this thing that they apparently do. So one person says the thing that they're upset about, and the rest of the group chants pile it on, and they put
Yeah.
more ice cream on top of the
Yeah.
ice cream.
And there's
And
like whipped cream there as well in a can.
yeah, and Gwen is like, why would anyone want to whip cream?
Yeah. And
Because it tastes great.
then she sprays it in her mouth later.
Yeah, that's so human.
Yeah.
I loved that. Have you ever done that, Dave?
Uh Probably.
I have not ever done that because I'm always
Yeah.
afraid that I will accidentally inhale it down into my
Mm,
lungs. So I've never sprayed it
yeah.
directly into my mouth. But
I
I
know I've
have sprayed
done
it.
cheese,
Yeah,
like
I
cheese
haven't
whiz.
I haven't done that either. I know I've sprayed the can into I've sprayed the can into something else
Right.
and then sucked the rest of the whipped cream out of the nozzle.
That
So
works.
that's the closest I've gotten to
All
that.
right.
So, but things start to get weird. They all go to sleep. And the next day, things are not quite right.
Well, it's during the night because I think just before, well, first off, Dal's about to go to bed. He's shutting off everything, and then hears music and wanders out into the corridor because he doesn't quite get to bed, because the music's keeping him awake.
Well, we
And
don't
also,
know how much time expired between those
yeah,
two events,
well, it
though.
seemed immediate. He seemed he laid down to go to sleep, and right then the music was playing. And then it looked like Gwen was getting some exercise in before she hit the bunk. And she was doing pull-ups on her weird contraption that they use as a weapon.
Her heirloom.
Yeah, heirloom
Yeah,
artifact thing. Yeah, her heirloom.
it's called her heirloom. Yeah.
Yeah, she was using that as a bar to do chin lifts, basically.
Hmm.
And she wandered out and saw some figure. She said was what, emaciated or something like,
A
or
human suffering from
pale.
malnutrition.
Malnutrition, human suffering from malnutrition. Yes.
Yeah. So,
And then Rock
but
Talk encounters a cutie thing. Well, I think, was it
it's
Jankum that sees it
Jankum.
first? Yeah.
Yeah, Jankum sees it
It's a
first,
Pokemon-like creature.
very much so. And this is when they realize that they're still on the holodeck because this creature doesn't exist outside of the holodeck. It's part of a simulation called Heart
It's like,
Doctor something. I can't remember.
yeah, Dr. Hart pet
Yeah,
veterinarian thing or
something like
something
that.
like that.
Yeah. So it's basically where you're taking care of these little creatures and diagnosing what they need and
Hmm.
keeping them alive, etc., making them happy. So kind of like raising Pokemon. But
Right.
that's she's like, no, this couldn't be possible. We're outside the holodeck. Unless we're not outside the holodeck.
Yeah, I think it was Zero's like, unless we're not.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's when things get weird.
Yeah, because they basically go back into the holodeck that they're already in, and we see a lighthouse very much looking like from the movie The Lighthouse, except in color.
Well, lighthouses have a pretty much universal sort of construction to them.
We have kind of a Sherlock Holmes-esque sort of mystery setup, very like Masterpiece Theater kind
Hmm.
of mystery with the cellar door
Yeah,
society, which is
yeah.
great because I don't remember who coined it, but cellar door is like ranked the most pleasant phrase in the English language.
Cellar door.
Cellar door.
Cellar
A
door.
Skinny Puppy even has a song called Cellar Door.
Cellar
It's
door.
fun to say and it's pleasant to the ear. Cellar door.
It is cellar door.
Yep.
I
So
want to
that's
go
where
through
that
the
comes
cellar
from.
door.
Yeah, Cellar
Let's
Door Society.
let's go to the cellar door
Yeah.
society.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, that's one of Zero's simulations. They like to
Mhm.
work out mysteries. So
Yep.
that's the computer seems to be incorporating that particular thing until that they're not. Basically, they think they have to find the skeleton key.
Yeah, which they
And
get from clues at the stroke of midnight that come through the letter slot in the door.
yeah,
And they all look like just gibberish and broken bits of shapes and color. And the clue is that they have to work together to solve the puzzle. So
yeah.
they catch Jankum using his torch. Like he's got an acetylene torch on his arm device
Gonna set
that
it on
he's using
fire.
to light the paper, and they see that you can see through the paper, and they stack. And I think this was Rock Talk that figures this out that you have to
It is.
put the
It
pages
is.
on top of one another and shine a light behind it so that it creates an image. And then Gwen reads it out, and yes, they have to find the skeleton key.
And then things get even weirder because you hear all these engines revving and they go
Yeah,
out.
and music too. We get
Yeah.
another musical cue, which sounds like Don Henley's Dirty Laundry. The music's very similar. It has very similar guitar riffs. And so it's just creates that earworm after watching this episode again.
I don't know the song of which you speak, so
I'll have to maybe
yeah,
share it in the Blue Sky
yeah,
shield modulation page.
yep. And yeah, they're finding out things bit by bit, but this is Jankum's
Hmm.
sim that he likes. He's basically beating up that doctor from the Dauntless. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, it's this motorcycle gang, very Akira. In fact, the whole setting's a little cyberpunk. You see,
Mm.
alleyways with neon signs. And that Dirty Laundry song, there's a bit of it goes kick him while it up, kick him while it down, kick him while it up, kick him while it down. So it's a good fighting type song. And but yeah, you see him. It's kind of anime. It's got like a lot of anime influences because he basically does a Kamehameha on these guys, and from Dragon Ball. And one of the motorcycle gang members takes the garbage can lid, very much Captain America style, and uses it as his shield to block
Mm.
the Kamehameha bolt.
Yeah. Uh, and Jenkins was like, "Oh, it's fine, with the safety protocols on, nobody can get hurt. It's just, working out aggression." And then he gets pounded. He gets
Mhm.
uppercut that just throws him really, really far. And I actually felt a little bit of pain when he falls to the ground on his back, because that cannot feel good.
And he lost a tooth, didn't he?
Yeah, he
Doesn't he
lost
pull
at
a
least one
tooth?
tooth. Yep,
Yeah.
at least one. And that's when they realize the safety protocols are off.
Hmm.
They can't get the arch to activate, they can't get the doors to open. They are stuck in the holodeck. And so they feel like they have to keep going to
And don't you
solve
just
the
love
mystery.
the negative sound that the computer makes when they try to get the arch to function? It doesn't. It's like
Yep.
eh. It's like a double thing.
Yep.
It's weird because there's some apps like in for streaming video through the Roku. I think even Disney Plus is one of them. It goes donk even if you do the correct thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a weird thing. It should be a more pleasant thing because donk is a bad sound. That means you
Yes,
did it wrong.
exactly.
So
It's
if you push
terrible.
a button to play, episode of Spider-Man or, the new Ironheart series and it goes donk, you're like, what? Why are you donking? Don't donk. Go beep. Go
Yeah.
ding.
Yeah.
Don't
Do
go
a nice
donk.
glissando or
Yeah.
something.
Blulululu.
No, don't do that. It sounds like you're turning something off.
Or
You gotta
blulululu.
there you go. That's what you do. That's what you do.
or
Yeah.
meep.
So next scene is the key club thing where it's noir.
Yeah,
It's
it starts raining and it turns to black and white
it's so
while
great.
these motorcycle gang members disappear, as they're investigating this tattoo of the Key Club on this guy's chest. And yeah, it starts raining on them, and once again they hear music, but this time it's kind of a swing, jazzy kind of thing.
Yeah, it's very nightclubby, very
Yeah,
noir.
yeah.
And come to find out, this is
This is Murph's.
thank you. This
Um,
is Murph's simulation.
yeah.
Apparently, he likes to get up on stage and lip sync old tunes
Uh-huh.
for the audience. And so obviously they've been seeing other people that they know in real life in these simulations. Some were
Yep.
purposely programmed, like in the case of Jankum. And Gwen finds out her dad's in this one.
Well, I think she's used the holodeck to confront her dad several times before, and so it's merging, but she's
Yeah.
surprised to see him there as the bartender.
Yep.
And the bartender doesn't recognize her and acts very much as a bartender would, being, part service person, part therapist,
Yeah.
listen to your worries.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you could see kind of that she's intrigued that she gets to speak to her father in a non-confrontational way.
Yeah.
And I could have seen if they didn't have to leave as quickly as they did, because, Jenkin Pog opens up a case of gold pressed latinum or something.
Something.
Yeah, gold bars or whatever was in that briefcase.
Yeah.
It's something right out of Pulp Fiction. But yeah, that she's just talking to her father in a non-confrontational, non-stressful way, just kind of relating to him, which must have been
Yep.
very pleasant for her.
I'm sure it was, and it was all too short
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
because Jankum basically started a fight, not
Hmm.
meaning to, of course, and not starting it by violence per se.
Yeah.
But now they've got to get out of there. And again, Rock is the person who
Yeah.
figures things out.
I was about to say that she hears the piano is off because it's missing a key.
Yep. And they this lands them on a ship, a an old school like pirate ship type
Yep.
ship.
Oh, yes.
And things just get even weirder. Everything's really starting to melt together because the ship
Yep.
is attacked by one of Rock Talk's creatures from her little
Yeah, it's like a Kraken
simulation.
attack. All these tentacles come up
Yeah,
and start wrapped around the ship. It breaks one of the masts. It starts pulling the ship down. It's grabbing crew members. It's got Jankum.
yeah. And so I think it's Gwen saying, "Well, what would you do when you're playing in the simulation?" She's like, "Oh," and she's diagnoses the patient and then fires a bunch of fruit at it.
Yeah, because it's one of the creatures from her Pokemon game, except big, like kaiju
Yeah.
size.
And so she fires a bunch of fruit at them because you got to have
Yep.
fruit on a ship or else you'll
Yeah.
get scurvy.
Stuffs a bunch of oranges and apples and whatnot that were offered earlier as soon as they came on board. And Gwen's like, we don't have time to eat. But
Yeah.
yeah, all that gets stuffed into a cannon and fired into the mouth of this adorable Pokemon critter.
Yeah. And the critter finally sinks back into the sea, but now the boat is sinking.
Hmm.
And they're like, "Oh, what do we do? How do we get to the next simulation?" And this is when Zero said, "No, we're not doing this. We're being kept here. There's
Yep.
never going to be an end to this. We're never going to find the key. So
Because several
let's just stop."
times throughout, there's been hints that they're being distracted. They're being led to stay there, like the MC at the Key Club is saying, stay here for a while, kind of thing. Take a load off and
Yeah.
hang out. And same with being on the pirate ship is right when they're saying that this crew member says it will be a long voyage.
Yeah.
Just indicating that they're being delayed.
Yep. So they basically and during this is important. During this, they can talk to Janeway. They
Yes.
just can't get out. And so he tells her to do something. I don't exactly remember what it is, but she says, "No, I can't. I would need a command code for that." And so he gives her the command code,
Hmm.
and it's all Game Boy references and Nintendo references.
Nice.
The code is yes, it's like GB N64. I can't remember all of
Hmm.
it, but yeah, it was definitely Game Boy references and Nintendo references. So well played, well
Yep.
played. Uh and video game references just in general. That's funny because, this is
That's
this the,
FF7.
yeah, the holodeck is basically a 3D video game if you want it to be.
Yeah.
You can basically build anything. So,
It's like he had her put in the Konami code.
yeah, right, exactly. Up, down, left, right, start, select.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah. The
Anyway,
select start or start select.
I don't know. I remember.
Mm.
I remember. It's been 40 years,
Yep.
ish. So yeah, the simulation ends, and Janeway is there. She's like, I don't know what happened. I don't know how this possibly could have happened. And the crew are all suspicious. And I believe I think it isn't it Dahl who asked to see the footage of Janeway
Mm.
uh,
Right.
after they supposedly left the holodeck, and they
Right.
find out that she was taken over by the living construct
Hmm.
and was programmed. She programmed a computer to keep the crew there indefinitely because the whole point of the living construct is to get to Federation space and destroy Starfleet and the Federation altogether.
Right.
And Gwen was saying, let's just stop. Let's not go to Starfleet. Let's not go to Federation space. And the living construct can't have that. Its
Nope.
sole purpose is to get there. And so it used Janeway to keep the kids distracted just long enough for them to, by the way, they were hiding in the neutral zone from a previous episode, to
Yep.
come out of the holodeck and realize that oh, great, a motorcycle.
Yep.
Sorry if you hear that, guys. uh, Come out to find that they have left the neutral zone now, and the Dauntless is right off their port bow or whatever. So, yeah. So this encounter that they were trying to prepare for via simulations, it's real now, and that's how the
Hmm.
episode
Yeah, that's
ends.
in credits. It's really great storytelling, great craftsmanship to, yeah, and create this conflict of, Dell's whole thing is he wants to go to Starfleet because that's
Mm-hmm,
going to be where he might belong. And he's never belonged anywhere because he's an orphan of the universe. He's been rejected,
mm-hmm,
created and then rejected, and so he's never really belonged anywhere. And so why not have Starfleet embrace him and he can have that as a family of sorts, and to have that denied him
yeah,
by, this living construct thing that would destroy the thing he wants so badly. And you can see, the turmoil, that having his dreams crushed
yeah.
in this episode.
Well, all their dreams, really. All they
Yeah.
want is to find a home,
Hmm.
really. I mean, they have a home together, but to belong somewhere instead of
Yeah.
just being drifters, really, universal drifters. So, and they're kids, they deserve
Hmm.
to have a family. And I mean, they've made their own family, but at the same
Yeah.
time, it would be nice to not have to fight for everything that they do, not
And yeah,
fight for every advantage, for
it's a gr
every inch closer to Federation
yeah.
space.
It's a great show to represent the found family kind of aspect of Star Trek, and particularly this one because they're not even in Starfleet yet. They're just this ragtag group of misfits,
Yep.
but finding a way to work together. And yeah, they have conflict here and there, and they have differences of opinion, but to pull together in order to solve these big issues that are really above where they should be at all,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that they're rising to a challenge that's over the age rating, the recommended age rating for the challenge in this particular video game.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fascinating thing, and this episode really brings that to the fore. It's got the crux of the dilemma. You know, go to Starfleet and endanger them, or somehow find a way to avoid Starfleet and defeat the 11 construct on their own somehow, or just
Mm,
forever drift as this lone party.
yep. Yeah, it's quite an episode, and
Hmm.
it really sets things up for the last three episodes of that particular part of season one. Because when it
Yeah.
originally aired, it aired as 10 episodes, and then a few months later, they had another 10 episodes ready to go, and that 20 episodes together became season one. So, yeah, I think they were probably originally going to break it into two seasons in that regard, but then they just didn't. They're like, no, we've got a lot done already. Let's just go for it. And
Right.
so later that year, I think it was in December, we started getting the other half of season one. So yeah, it's a really it's a fantastic episode that not only shows the strengths and the faults of the characters and the stress of what to do with this ship because of the living construct, and also their faith in Janeway is now shaken.
Yeah, I was gonna say
And
there's some mistrust now.
yeah, and it's just well, really well done. Sets up things really
Hmm.
beautifully
And
for
you
the
get a
next
bit
few
of
episodes.
inner life of each of the characters as we
Yeah.
get to see how they spend their leisure time in the holodeck.
Yes.
Is how are they, when we don't see them on screen, what are they
Mm-hmm.
doing? How do they release tension or relax or, entertain themselves?
Yep. So, gee, a holodeck malfunction. Oh, what a surprise. Actually, it's not a
Yeah,
malfunction, though. It wasn't a malfunction this time.
well, it was purposeful, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
So it
it
wasn't
was
as,
sabotage, not malfunction. So
yep,
it didn't really malfunction, but
yep,
with Dal having the command codes, he should have been the one to be able to overwrite things, but
yeah.
couldn't. So in that respect, there's still issues with the holodeck, as there are issues with all holodecks, it seems.
Well, that's the thing. He could have overridden it himself if he had gotten the arch to appear, but it wouldn't appear. So there was no way for him to use his command code himself, which is exactly what the living construct wanted.
The holodeck needs a Control Alt Delete
It
or
really,
some
really
kind of
does.
escape button,
It
just
does.
some way to cancel the program no matter what. But I guess when there's safety protocols and that sort of thing, who knows what might happen. If you're being, in weightlessness and you shut off the program and suddenly, gravity takes effect and you fall, whatever, 10,
Yeah.
15 feet or however long it is. And the explanation with Zero being looking like he was further away from them as the party than he was.
As
And the
does
Rock Talk
them.
explaining that
Zero
them.
zeros a they.
Yes. Where was I?
Sorry. Rock talk.
No, it's good to correct me on that. Right. So they're in the holodeck lighthouse area, and Zero is out in front of them, and and Rock Talk explains to the rest of the group why they appear so far away is that the holodeck has ways of manipulating your perception
Mm-hmm.
in a way. And so even members of your own party will look further away than they actually are,
Yeah, well, it's all
which is a
about
weird concept that's hard to
it.
explain.
It's all light manipulation
Yeah. So
because
we'll project an
refraction.
image over zero of zero being smaller than they are.
Yeah,
Well, it
it's all
blows your
weird
mind.
refraction things.
Yeah. Light refraction and stuff. So.
Yep.
Yeah, it's never, I don't think I've ever had it explained to me quite like that. I know there's ways that the holodeck manipulates reality in a weird way through solid light, strangely, that you can walk great distances without feeling like you're walking in a circle, even though
Mm-hmm.
you kind of are.
Yeah.
It's very odd. Makes you wonder if the ground moves.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think that
Yeah.
the scenery moves depending
Yeah.
on like maybe it has sort of a small treadmill thing. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
I
what I was
can't.
thinking. Like maybe the floor moves like a treadmill in places when
Yeah,
you're moving. It's just, yeah, it blows your mind that such a small space can appear so large
indeed.
that you'd be able to traverse it without hitting a wall.
I
There's
think
got to
we
be
can.
something.
Yeah, I think we can all
Knows.
agree that every holodeck should have a press to not die button.
Right.
It should override everything and never malfunction. That is
Yep.
what every holodeck needs is the fail-safe button that
Yep.
says
Fail safe. Factory
to not
reset.
die. And then you just hit that. The holodeck, no matter what's going on, turns off.
Yep. Hard
Period.
reboot.
Yeah. Or you just leave it down until you can figure out what the
Yep.
fuck happened this time. So
Hold down a couple of buttons until the little Apple insignia appears again.
hold down button to restart, hit
Um,
button in order to end a holodeck sequence. There you
yep.
go. Have a laminated card on the outside of the
This
holodeck with instructions of what to do to not die in the holodeck.
be playing a holodeck game and then suddenly it just freezes and there's a pinwheel just spinning in front of you. Or kicks you up and brings up an error message and report.
Report YN.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Holodecks.
Hmm.
They're such a mess. Why haven't they made them better by this point?
Yeah, they've had years and years and years and years to improve the holodeck and still you
Centuries,
get,
even.
yep, centuries.
Yeah. Anyway.
And doesn't Prodigy take place before Picard, like right before Picard?
Yeah, that I think that it does. Right before Picard. Yep, that would
Uh,
make sense. But season two can be it's hard to say because season two there's a lot of wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff.
yeah,
So, but the last episode of season two does make it clear that this happens before the events of Star Trek Picard,
right.
about 20 or so years before the
Because I
events
know
of
there's
Star Trek
been
Picard.
a rollback from space exploration as
Yeah, the
Starfleet and the
Romulan
Federation
evacuation
throws,
failure.
Jesus Christ,
Yeah, that's so
more
loud.
motorcyclists love to make noises.
Yeah, the Romulans' main star dying and
Yeah,
threatening everyone, and uh, Starfleet, the Federation, were helping with evacuations, and Picard was fronting that. And some people who didn't want to be helped decided to cause a distraction by making all of the synths who were working on Utopia Planitia, which is the biggest shipyard in Starfleet,
right.
attacking that and killing a lot of people and making everybody freak out and shut down all synthetic life. So, and making creating synthetic life basically illegal.
Right.
So that's a big thing all in its own. But yeah. So, do you have anything else you want to say about this episode?
I think we covered mostly. I didn't really talk about Jason Mantzoukas, playing Jenkin Pog, but how delightful he is in Taskmaster
I
currently.
I was just gonna say we're gonna have to watch that new Taskmaster
Yeah, we could have
episode.
it
Well,
for
dinner.
dinner because I imagine
Yeah.
you're going to be hungry later.
Yes, I will be hungry later. So I had a big lunch, but I will be hungry later. So yeah, Taskmaster. If you guys have never heard of Taskmaster, it's a British comedy competition sort of show, but
Yep.
it's not like any competition show you've ever seen.
Yeah,
And
just silly challenges given to comedians.
yeah, just I don't
Yeah.
even want to explain it that much. It's on YouTube.
Mhm.
Find it, learn about it, love it because it's ridiculous and it brings me great joy.
What is this, season 19 that Jason Mantzoukas is on?
Yes, season
Right.
19,
Yep. So, and I
definitely.
think an episode, yeah, just dropped earlier
Yeah,
today.
I saw it in our things when we were looking for the new Fantastic Four
Yep.
trailer. So, all right. Do you have things to say now, Dave?
About music, giving recommendations or just discussing. Tomorrow is Pride,
Mm-hmm.
the 29th of June. So I would like to recommend this band Vision Video, and their most recent album, I believe, is called Modern Horror. And the lead singer is gay. They have merch that came from some online discussion where somebody was basically criticizing the band for producing just gay goth shit. And so they have t-shirts that say gay goth shit.
Yes. Yes, make it your
And I
anthem.
believe the proceeds for those shirts go to like stuff like the Trevor Project and that kind of thing. My understanding anyway of, a lot of it goes, to LGBTQ plus causes.
Good.
Music is well, varies from song to song and album to album, but a lot of it's traditional goth, think Disintegration era, The Cure, but it leans into some post-punk too. If you're familiar with the band Foreign Resort, it kind of goes into that. The vocals are a bit like Morrissey without the xenophobia, because the band is leftist and very political. Modern Horror is basically a count, I mean, from a few years back, but an account of the current political soup that we're in,
Hmm.
and addresses that. Very good songs, a lot of references to death in one way or another.
Well, of course.
Yeah. So the promise of an early death, I think, is one of the song lyrics.
Mm.
Because I was listening to a bit of it today, just put on the two albums I have on shuffle, was listening to various songs and in preparation of talking about them now. But very cool band, very cool music. Vacillates in the nature of their sound, which is intriguing because so you don't get bored. It doesn't, not every song's going to sound the same, which I think keeps the ear interested. So something to check out, and it's a good band to support because they're a good group of folks over at
Good.
Vision Video.
Excellent.
How
Where can
about
people
yourself? You
find you?
got anything to recommend? Anything to talk about?
Not really.
Any books?
They don't want to hear about the books I'm reading.
Do they not want to hear about the books you're reading? Okay.
No, they don't need to hear. They don't want to. It's not
Okay.
Star Trek, so it's not appropriate.
Oh, you can recommend something that's not Star Trek.
Nope,
Maybe the
not gonna do
non-Star
it.
Trek corner of our show.
Not
All
gonna do
right,
it.
fair
Not
enough.
necessary.
Do you have
So,
anything Star Trek related you do want to recommend?
uh,
Just Prodigy?
yep, yep. If you haven't watched Prodigy, I
Yeah.
strongly beg you to
Yeah, if
watch
you've been
it.
reluctant because it's been more geared towards children, or reluctant because it's animated, or reluctant because they're shorter episodes, it's got some good Star Trek content in it. I think that it's character driven should really be a selling point.
It's probably the only series that really shows the journey of becoming a part of Starfleet.
Mm.
So, for a
Yeah, that
kid,
you're not already a member of it. It's the quest for the ideals of what Starfleet represents, especially the first season. But yeah, the second
yeah,
season too is rising up to the ideals of Starfleet
yep. All
in a
right
young
then.
person. So yeah.
Yeah. So watch it. You can find me on Blue Sky at Brandywine. You can find me on Instagram at Brandy Jackala. That's pretty much all that is uh relevant. Dave, where can people find you?
I'm on Blue Skies, DJ Evil Dave, no underscores. You can find me on YouTube, DJ Evil Dave with underscores. The podcast on Blue Sky is Shield Podulation. Um, on YouTube, you can follow the podcast. You can listen to it there. We're also on Hear This. I should post more often to Tumblr. I forget to do that. You can find me on Spotify as DJ Evil Dave, Bandcamp too. I think I'm DJ Evil Dave as well, now that they have playlists on there, and you can check out my sound catalog, my music catalog, my library, because I have a lot. It's not nearly as much as Brandy does, but I have a lot of songs and albums that I've picked up through Bandcamp.
I
So.
have a problem.
Yeah, well, people in the dark ambient atmosphere, the
I
genre,
do.
the scene, and so you've got a lot of that stuff. If you
I
like
do.
music that would score a horror survival video game, then that's right up your alley. And Brandy has plenty of that, and I have a little bit of everything else.
I do. I've lost my phone. Is my phone with you on the
Yes,
sofa?
it's your phone sitting next to the big yellow peep.
Because we need to choose the next episode.
I want me to carry your phone over to you.
Would you please?
Unless you want me to do
No,
the
no, no,
random.
no.
Okay.
Bring it over. It won't recognize your voice. Thank you, Dave. Besides, it wouldn't recognize your voice. Okay. We'll wait for Dave to get back to his microphone.
I meant using my own computer to figure out the numbers.
No, I can do it. It's much more fun this way.
Oh, and the big yellow peep is a plush big yellow peep.
It is a plush big little peep. Okay,
Yeah, marshmallow peep.
here we go. Hey Siri, hello. Give me a random number between 1 and 944.
Is it working?
Give me a random number between 1 and 944. Okay, it's being fussy.
I didn't even hear Siri answer to you.
Well, it usually doesn't do it out loud. Okay, let's try again.
Ah.
Hey Siri, give me a random number between 1 and 944. 260.
260.
260. Let me quickly write this down because we all know how my ADHD goes. 260.
Is that next generation?
What?
Next generation, do
I
you
can't
think?
hear you.
Next generation?
I know, but I can't hear you through the
Why
computer.
can't you hear me?
I don't know what's going on.
Microphone's on.
Yeah. You're
How
on
about
mute.
now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You were muted.
I think it might be because I removed my headphones.
Yes, that would
So
do
is that
it.
next generation, is what I said.
I don't know because I was trying to figure out why I couldn't hear you. So give me a second to get the thingy back up. And 260 is oh God.
Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. That doesn't bode well.
It's Deep Space Nine, Season 1, Episode 11, The Nagus.
Oh, dear Lord.
Oh God.
Oh no. I mean, Wallace Shawn I like fine, but as the Nagus,
I detest the character. I detest the character. I detest the character.
I do very poorly with the Ferengi comedy episodes anyway, and this is a particularly annoying one if I recall. Can
Well, it
we
is
hope
season
for a
1.
good B plot, maybe?
I doubt it. I guess we'll see. It's been a long time since I've seen this episode.
Maybe we'll get creepy Bashir.
Probably. He was pretty creepy in season 1.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
This is pre-Worf, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I think it's season 4 before Worf shows up, if I remember right. So,
Oh
yeah.
boy, it might be a drinking episode, except I don't really drink.
I don't really drink either, but I do still have a little caramel whiskey in the cabinet that I might avail myself of.
Yeah.
Oh, I
boy,
still
it's
have
been a
root
while
beer
since we
schnapps
had a
too.
drunken brandy podcast.
Oh, no, I don't do that anymore.
No.
I do not do that anymore. But yeah, I might have a shot of root beer schnapps before we do this.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, here we are next week. Yeah, next week. Not in 2 weeks, but next week.
No, 2 weeks, because it's not going to be till
yes.
the 27th that we go weekly.
Oh, right. Sorry. See,
So-
I'm terrible at this. I'm terrible
So
at
this
this.
will be episode 25, right? Then we'll have
Yes.
26. So
And
yeah,
then
it'll be
27. And so after 27 is when it'll be weekly?
27th will be our weekly episode.
Okay, so meaning that the 26th is our last bi-weekly episode? Is that
Yep.
what you're saying?
Yep.
Okay, got it. So 2 weeks from now, for the love of Pete and all of
So-
Star Trek, we will be back.
You have 2 weeks to brace yourselves for
Yeah.
the Nagus.
The Nagus. And thanks for listening. Sorry about my ADHD. And see you in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Get to the chopper.
Get to the chopper.
Get your ass to Mars.
More appropriate. Thank you.
Yep. You know.
Yeah.